Now I shall call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Northampton County Board of Commissioners. This Monday, on the 19th. This meeting is called that we might take care of affairs of Northampton County. We do understand that we have a mission statement behind me. It is on the wall. We're not meeting just to be meeting. We're here to make sure that we serve citizens of our county, and we will be accountable. We also have a vision statement to talk about what we want our county to look like in years to come. We're going to do all we can to keep it moving forward. We understand without a doubt that without a vision, then our county will perish. And we desire not that our county will perish. Although we are Tier 1 county, although we know that we are in poverty and a lot of our citizens, we desire to lift up our county in every possible way that we can. This time, we're going to ask that each of you would take a moment of silence as we think about and reflect the past and even of the present and even of the future. We would take a few moments to remember and to think in any way you possibly can about things that are going on around us. Thank you so much. We do live in the greatest place in all the world, the United States of America. This time, we'd like for you to join us. Give the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, members, a little change from what we've had in the past. We have at this time the consent agenda, which, oh, okay, conflict of interest. I'm sorry, conflict of interest. Will you do that for us, please? Let's do the agenda first. Let's do the agenda. The agenda you have before you, what members do you want to include or exclude anything on the agenda? I apologize. Moving forward. If not, could I have a motion that we would approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda.
Mr. Edwards has made that a motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ed. If there are any questions or any discussion? Not, all in favor? Let be known by you, you sign aye.
Aye.
I, Broadnax Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much. Now let's go to the conflict of interest statement. Will you, at this time, our vice chairman, you know, routine, help your chairman, okay?
In accordance with the rules of procedures adopted by this board in section 153A44 of the North Carolina General Statutes, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a conflict of interest with respect to any agenda item coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict and the board will consider the matter.
Well, members, if you have a conflict, if not, please let me know.
No conflict.
Okay,
No conflict.
No conflict, Faulkner.
No conflict.
no conflict. At this time, we shall continue. At this time, we do have a consent agenda. Our last meeting, we went over all these items at our last meeting, and they are listed on your agenda. Appointment to the Turning Point our Workforce Development Board, a contract, increase for Dr. Singer, and a budget amendment, 42 and 43. Could I have a motion? Is there someone who we take one of these, all of these people, all these items off the consent agenda? Could I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and proper second that we will approve the consent agenda. Any questions, any discussion? Not all in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
I, Brian X Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much. Board, you've had an opportunity to have the budget with you. You had this third or fourth time you've had this copy of the board of the budget of this coming fiscal year. And tonight is the night that we've listened to all the comments that you have had. You're the ones who are going to approve this budget. This budget is a working budget. It means that it can be changed, but only be changed with a vote of these commissioners. We do know we live in a time where there's so much uncertainty going on around us. We never know what the bank rates will be. We never know what the materials gonna cost us for all the things that we're doing. We just got so many things around us, but I think this budget signifies for us the best that we can have at this time with knowing with the things that we presently know. I want to commend our county manager for presenting this budget to us and giving us all the details of the information that you've asked for. The budget is huge. There are a lot of things in this budget. This budget was brought together by our county manager using the heads of all the departments in the county. And they come together, they reason together about what will happen to each department in the county. And you have it included in your package again today. And I am ready tonight that we can approve our budget for 23-24 Northampton County government. Could I have your pleasure at this time?
Chairman Towner, I
Yes.
make a motion that we approve the adoption of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget as presented by our county manager and staff.
Have a second.
Second.
Been moved and proper second. Thank you so much. Ms. Taylor, Commissioner Taylor, are there any questions in the discussion?
Discussion.
Yeah,
I just know there are many questions because there is so much uncertainty that if there's possibilities of any reduction that we can take off of the backs of our citizens,
we will
we
do
can
that.
do that.
Yes. We want everybody to know that we certainly want to do everything we possibly can to lower our tax rate in Northampton County. This being a year where we're doing revals and it's going to be difficult for us. But after we get over this year, we then we'll be settled. We'll know where we are. We'll know by the tax collection. And then perhaps next year this time, no guarantee we can come before a citizen and say, we're going to reduce taxes even more. And board members, I want to commend you for working with us through this terrible time of trying to come up with a budget. We've had the question, we've had the motion. Can we get a second?
It's been seconded.
Was any more discussion?
It's just, okay, all in favor, let know by you sign aye.
Aye.
I, Brian X Taylor.
Faulkner.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much. At this time, number 7, our attorney will talk to us about a contract that we talked about.
Thank you, Chairman Towner. Board members, we discussed at the last meeting a proposed landscape maintenance contract with Joseph Warmack for the former Rich Square Creasy site. During that meeting, it was the request of the board to add the vine and a one-time vine and tree removal job to the contract for the one-time fee of $1,000. There's a new section 4 in the contract providing for that work. Other than that, there have been no changes. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board members, if you have any questions, you need to ask our county attorney at this time. Any question?
Questions been answered. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the proposed landscape maintenance contract for Joseph Bormack for Rich Square Creasy School site.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Moving proper second that we will execute this contract. We have the Creasy School site. Are you ready for your question? So all in favor, let know about you, just saying aye.
Aye.
I, Brown X Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
As have motion is carried. Thank you so much, County Commission, for listening and approving this again, a contract for Creasy School. At this time, we have tax matters. Our tax administrator.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greetings from Northampton County Tax Department. Before you to seek the board's approval for 7 ad valorem appeals. We had taxpayers ask that I come before you all on their behalf in the amount of $3,046.63.
Well, members, in your package, you see those persons whom we owe a refund to. And we're asking our tax administrator asking us to refund them the amount of money as given to each person on your information sheet. Could I have your pleasure on that, County Commission?
Chairman, I move approval of the ad valorem tax appeals in the amount of $3,046.63 as presented by the tax administrator.
I have a second on that motion.
Second.
Moving proper second that we would allow the 7 appeals, $3,006.63. Any questions? Any question? Not all in favor, let know by you sign aye.
Aye.
I, Brown X Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
I have motion is carried. You continue on.
Yes, sir. I'm also before the board this evening to ask for your approval for motor vehicles ad valerums in the amount of $1,860.21. 25 appeals. Those taxpayers listed asked me to come before you also on their behalf.
Well, members, you've heard our tax administrators asking for refunds for those with automobiles, adjustments that need to be made. Are there any question? If not, could I have a motion?
I make a motion that we authorize the tax administrator to grant a refund due to one of the 3 reasons stated by our tax administrator, totaling the amount of $1,860.21 for the 25 appeals.
Second.
Moving proper second, that we would allow the tax department to refund these persons listed sheet that you have. Are there any questions or any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it know by you, your sign aye.
Aye.
I, Brown X Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
I've had a motion carried. Thank you so much, board members, again. At this time, we want to make at this time, we're going to recess our Board of Commissioners meeting. We're going into the equalization and review. At this time, you have an agenda for that. At this time, I'm going to ask you to please note the minutes of the last meeting, May 15th. And at this time, could I have a motion of the approval of the minutes?
Make a motion that we approve the June 19th, 6:30 PM Board of Equalization and Review minutes, June presented June 19th, but it was May 15th. What was this date?
Second.
Okay.
May 15th, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
I've been moved to proper second, we'll approve the minutes as given to us. And the question and discussion, not all in favor, let know by you sign aye.
I, Ron X Taylor.
Aye.
Faulkner.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Before you represent Board of Equalization and Review, we have two appeals listed on our agenda. The first one being State Employees Credit Union being represented by THB Services, parcel number 02-02299. Calling for them right now.
Okay. At this time, Ms. Mason, will you swear in all the parties who wish to present evidence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All who want to present evidence on these two, please come forward at this time.
I'm happy to do it. Is the appealing taxpayer present or their representative?
Yes, can you hear me?
They're virtual.
Can you hear me?
Ms. Mason, can you ask who is appearing virtually to identify themselves?
Tom Barry.
Can't hear.
We can't hear you, sir. Can you speak up, please?
Tom Barry.
Do all of the parties appearing, do you affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please answer.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're going to hear evidence from the taxpayer.
Okay, can y'all
Barry,
hear
that
me?
would be you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Barely.
All right, do you have my presentation there?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't able to share my screen. It's not allowing me to share my screen.
Everybody is.
I'm sorry.
We can't, Mr. Barry, we can hardly hear you here.
I don't have any way of getting it louder. I'm sorry. I'm talking already loud and I've got on.
Hold for 1 second.
Just hold for 1 second, please.
Okay.
Just for 1 second. You can hear him.
Superior, can you speak, please?
Hello? Is that better? Is that better? Better? Better?
All right.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right, so
All right.
y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what we've got, this is a bank. This is located at 124 East Jefferson Street. It's a SECU State Employees Credit Union. What we did, and y'all got my presentation already on hand, correct? Because I'm not allowed to, it's not allowed, it says host disabled screen sharing. So I'm not able to share my screen. So y'all do have a copy of mine, correct? Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have a copy of my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so what we did is we looked at it 3 different ways. We looked at it from the bank sales that occurred within a 20-mile radius of the subject. We also looked at bank sales that occurred basically eastern North Carolina, probably the least the worst way, not the worst, but of the 3, this would be the one that I would not rely on the most because it pulls into, Raleigh and Durham and all in there, which are much more desirable areas and much more expensive areas. We also looked at office and retail sales within a 10-mile radius of the subject property. Basically, if you look at 3 different pages, and it's the ones with the blue line at the top, it's a Excel spreadsheet is what it is. One says bank sales within 20 miles. It's on page 5. This one is all of the bank sales that have sold within 20-mile radius of the subject. As you can see, the highest one on the per square foot is $377 a foot. We're currently at $431 a square foot. Of course, the average is 93, and when you take out the extremes, it's at $71 a square foot. And not to go too much into depth of all the rest of the ones, but if you go to, it's page 33, and I don't think they got numbered correctly on this. It's the one where the office and retail sales, which a bank would fall in both categories because it has both categories of individual properties within the one. The average is $93 a foot, and the minus extremes is $77 a foot. But what I wanted to point out, the only one that's even the highest one is at $307 a square foot. Again, we're at $431. We do think that the bank sales within the 20-mile radius is the best examples of what this thing would sell for, because that's what other people are going to, if this sold, other banks are going to look at what is a viable one that I could buy instead of this one. So even at $377 a square foot, we're looking at 1.5 and change versus the current value of 1.8. We do think that it's overvalued on a per square foot basis. That's really all I have. I can have questions about the other stuff later. Is this the sales the county's information that's been asked for multiple times?
We didn't hear you. What
Right.
did you say? Sir, say it again.
I was just looking on my screen, what was up on my screen. It looks like sales approach summary.
Do you have any questions you need to ask board members?
Not at this time.
Okay, not at this time, okay? Cecil, do you have any? questions?
Right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I just want Mr. Berry to be aware that following the initial appeal, we, the Pearson staff, did make some adjustments, and we currently have his value at $1,683,000 and $919. So that's what's under appeal. We did make some adjustments. And he is the tax rep on behalf of State Employees Credit Union. And barring him getting proper mail service, we did email him that particular offer, if you will, based on our corrections and data. I just want him to be aware that's really what's under appeal, not the initial 1.8. Just want to clarify that for the board and for Mr. Berry.
Do you have any question that you need to ask?
I have a question. Is there a particular formula that you all use in assessing property? Not only his property, but the property of citizens there, because I'm aware that there's maybe 3 approaches or 3 methodologies of assessing property. There's cash value, sales value, and comparison. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
3 approaches.
What formula do you all use? Because that's a little muddled for me. And maybe our citizens could benefit from knowing what is this formula that you use to come up with these figures?
Board members,
Yes, sir.
let me say this, this hearing is about this particular
Yes, sir.
situation.
Yes, sir.
Let's ask the question, it's right to ask the question.
Yes,
but
sir.
let's ask it about this particular situation. Then we can
Okay.
come back without a hearing and ask those kind of questions.
Okay.
But this hearing is about just this particular
Yes, sir.
situation, okay?
So my question is, what is the formula that you use for this property?
Right. Yes, ma'am. We do look at the sales approach, cost approach, and income. For this particular situation, we look really at the 2, sales and the cost from the market analysis. We do agree that the bank, or excuse me, credit union sales and bank property sales, they're limited in number. We found some in the western part of the state. I know Mr. Berry commented on the eastern portion that we found to be applicable in this situation. Noting that, we use the cost approach as well from developing our schedule of values. So we have those included on a on that summary statement page, Commissioner, for your review, as well as the grading component that goes in from a cost approach. What is the grade, the quality construction grade of the property? What is the condition? What is the age of the property? They are all components from a cost standpoint. Is there any effective age? In this case, we had a situation where the bank did undergo some renovations, a whole new addition that was cited from the permitting just for that addition over $1 million, of course. So all those components based on square footage, based on the land, what contributory value for the land, and any other yard improvements that are allocated for the property from a cost approach. Yes, ma'am. We dissect all that and then we apply that back to the property, and then we yield a value accordingly. And our position is $215.61 a square foot for this bank, or excuse me, this credit union property is what we derive at. All those little formulas from a cost approach, yes, ma'am, we've included those. We've also included those sales on a high level review for your study. The sale that occurred again in the western part of the state, $1.2 million. I believe that was a purchase actually that the excuse me, the $1.9 million sale was referenced in that sales summary page was a sale that the State Employees Credit Union actually purchased. That was a sale from 2021. So yes, ma'am, that's our position on where the credit union for the value effective January 1st, 2023. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, any other board members? Yes.
Yes, I would like to know what was the determining factor in the value reduction?
We felt like when they did the work on it, they spent about $1 million. They added 3,500 square feet. When we went back and looked at it, it's still a bank. It made the improvements, but we decided to go back in and just say it's in good repair and not move the effective date, one of those formulas. So we treated it like a 2011 bank in good repair. And that was the change we made.
Board members, any other board member? Another board member? Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Barrett, I do have a question and I hope I'm in order. I want to know, is your company a appraisal licensed appraisal company?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, are there any other questions? Any other questions? Either party have any other questions you want to ask each other at this time? You know, if not, I'm going to ask for a closing statement from each of you all. 1 minute closing statement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our consideration for the property, and this will be less than a minute, of course, it's our recommendation that the value for effective for January 1st, 2023 for the credit union, State Employees Credit Union parcel, $1,683,919. The credit union is operational. It suffers from no additional functional or economic obsolescence that is warranted at this time. That is the position of Pearson's appraisal, and we would ask the board to consider that in their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Barrett.
First of all, I'd like to say hey to Bob. I saw you standing there and wanted to wave at you. Good to see you. Just from our standpoint, we do feel that it is overvalued on a per square foot basis. The highest bank sale in the area sold for $377. Ours is at $430 and some change. Just at the highest sales price for other banks, it would come in at around 1.5. That's all we have.
Thank you. Another question? You had a comment, sir?
Price per square foot is $215
And 61 cents.
per square foot.
Yes, sir.
That is our price per square foot. You take the size of the building, multiply it times that, you get the $1,683,900.
So we're well under even Mr. Berry's recommendation as cited in his introductory page at $300. Yes, sir.
Thank you, board members. Any other question? Thank you all for hearing before us tonight. This board will deliberate and we will come at our next meeting with, after we've gone through all the information, we had to hear what you had to tell us, and we'll come back with our recommendation. Thank you so much. Mr. Barrett, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
That would be that, that parcel is 3-05.
Loach,
No, had to be sworn in, I guess.
Okay.
yes, wait a minute.
Would all parties who will be presenting evidence before the Board of Equalization and Review, do you affirm that the testimony you will give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. At this time, I'd like for you to give us your evidence or any information you want to give us.
Okay. Did y'all receive a packet? I know I talked, you did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all got everything that I'm
Yes.
gonna have. Okay. So our house we built our house in 2020. Our tax value was set at the 377,045. This year it was raised to 537,909. They have done the adjustments and took it down to the 441. But we were looking to keep it at the 377. I put tax cards in there. I pulled 5 different tax cards that were similar to our property. They're all well under what our house is assessed at. I also put a copy of our appraisal in there where we had in 2020, again, is under the assessed value. We haven't had any improvements. The only thing that's been done is the house has been built. There's nothing else there. There's a barn that will probably blow down tomorrow, but no value to it. Our house is also a 1.5 story. I know from the front, it looks like a 2 story, but it's actually a 1.5 story. So I don't know if that is, the issue as well. But looking to really keep it at the 377.
And we've compared comparables within a 10-mile radius with a lot more acreage than we have as well. We're only sitting on 1.1 acres. Compared to others, I think we had a couple in there with 85 acres and more. So, and they're still coming under of our total tax value.
The only comparable that was in our appraisal done in 2020 that was in Northampton County, there were 2 other ones that were in there, but they were none in Northampton County. Came back at the 405,800, which is still under the 441. So just really trying to understand why so much higher, when everything else around us in a 10-mile radius is $100,000 less.
Board members? You have any questions you need to ask them at this time ask the taxpayer?
Who is your appraiser?
It was done through Wishart
2020?
Appraisals, Dale Jones. He is a licensed appraiser.
Dale Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're here at the from our own tax assessment office. Will you please come give us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We did make some adjustments. The initial notice went out 537,909. A good portion of that was the square footage. We did have incorrect square footage data. The dwelling, you saw the image in your packet, looks like a full 2-story. However, there is limited space on that second level. That was a key component of the correction, 522 square feet on that second level. There is some rounding involved with the CAMA tax system from the mass appraisal. That corrected square footage from the tax version is 2,613 square feet. Again, there's some rounding. So we're about 6 square feet disparity, which is within the limits of a mass appraisal. We don't do fee appraisals for our nature of what we do. With that rounding involved, in the correction, the notice went back out, of course, to $441,000 with those adjustments. and well, $29, $441,029. There are some older buildings on the property. Of course, there was really limited value assigned to those. There's an older metal carport, a lean-to and a frame shed, that lean-to is attached to. No value has been assigned to that. The only real value, if you will, is $3,500. It's a metal garage type, one of those prefab garages, very limited value was assigned to that. The acreage is self-explanatory. We allocate 1 acre for a home site. The rest is priced at residual. And there was some adjustment allocated for the home site to reflect this a little bit irregular shape. So we've made that adjustment with that residual land to reflect that. I've also kind of went through a synopsis. We talk about the sales approach. I did take a moment on your handout. You have go through those components from a replacement cost standpoint. And then as you look at the age and depreciation, the home being so new, it's not getting a lot of depreciation initially in it. That's part of the key component we also look at with regard to replacement cost new versus the age of the home. So I've kind of rendered a version of the cost approach, $394,612 just for the cost approach. Now, as we adjust to the market, the one issue I did have with the appraisal, and we're always grateful for those individuals sharing fee appraisals with us, it gives us another look at property. People say, well, it's too high, it's too low, it's not insurance value. Those are duly noted, but we have to go on a legitimate basis. Those fee appraisals have been nice to review. The appraisal was from 2020. Our argument from Pearson's is that the age of that appraisal, we had additional time frame to look at additional sales as well as from a cost approach, what things were costing from the summer of 2020 until 2023. That was another key ingredient of our decision. So when we look at all of those items, if you will, Pearson's appraisal still recommends we feel we're closer to even the 441 and certainly not the $377,000 reference of value taxpayers suggested. If anything, we're still in the $400,000 range. I've just mentioned if the board wants to make any other considerations from that. I don't think we're into the 377 ballpark. I'll just mention based on square foot. That puts the square foot yield price, if we look at those brief, that summary page I've attached, $168.78 per square foot. It's a custom built home. It's very new. Again, the depreciation that it's getting is appropriate for that year built. So we would hold that the value is more in the $441,000 range than the 377. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Board members, you have any questions? Pass our appraisal.
How has the reevaluation of property for us in Northampton County affected the appraisal? How has, you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. And thank you. I think that's a good question. The ones that have come through the office, certainly we've dissected all of that. We are, I don't say right on, I don't use that term, but as far as from the fee appraisal world to what we use for mass appraisal, we're within percentages, and I mean small percentages, 3%. That's pretty close. So that tells us, the team, and as we share information with Ms. Mason, that yes, the values, while they might be seemingly significant, we are not far off. A 2.6% disparity, if you will, from an independent appraisal versus a mass appraisal. I feel that's a pretty tight group. I mean, you speak of being under 10, we're under 3% with our value. That's been the process. We've been still ongoing, if you will. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board members, any other board members have a question? I do have one on your property. It was evaluated in 2020, what? 2020.
Richard.
And now that's 2 years, 3 years old. I'm gonna ask our attorney as we deliberate over all of this to, I hate to say this, perhaps look at another appraisal of that property. Where we doing it within law. Appraisal is up to date, not our appraisal. Another appraisal. And then whatever, have them to agree to whatever we come up with, whatever that appraisal comes. Outside appraisal, because we haven't had one.
Mr. Chairman,
Do that?
it's my understanding that you say the Richard appraiser, very familiar with him. Yes, and so if there's another appraisal, correct me if I'm wrong, someone will have to have it done, correct? And that takes time, because the last time I had my house appraised, it took like 6 weeks. And I used Richard appraisal. I hear exactly what you're saying.
You hear what I'm saying?
I do hear what you're
I'm
saying.
trying to make
Yes, sir,
sure
but
that we be fair. I wanna be fair.
And it was financed through the credit union.
I wanna do that.
Yes.
Was it the credit? Yes, my home is also,
Okay.
yes.
Attorney, we're not gonna make the decision tonight, but we want you to know that's an option that we wanna talk about. Perhaps even in our closed session or where we need to talk about.
I want to be clear, since the citizens are here, all deliberations on these decisions have to be in open session before everyone. You have two opinions of value. One by our tax assessor company Pearson's, that's competent evidence. The appraisal submitted by the taxpayer, while 2 years or 3 years old, it's evidence that this board can consider. If the board is requesting another appraisal, we can request it. I guess my question is who's going to pay for it?
I understand.
Right, yeah. 376,728 versus 441,029. That's what
How much is that?
one is what the dated May 30th is 441,029 and premium builders Richard is 376,728. Yes,
We had,
That's
so
right.
we had 2 contracts on the house.
clear.
We only went with one, but I only had 2, but both still under what it cost to build.
Got it.
And just for the record, and while I'm sitting here thinking about it, if the taxpayers, this board has the authority to accept a new appraisal from the taxpayers, but this board cannot fund a new appraisal.
Clear.
Thank you. Any other information? The two of y'all have any questions you want to ask each other? Let me say it that way. Any questions y'all need to ask each other? Any questions? All right, we will be back in touch with you, whether it'll be our appraiser, whether it'll be our attorney, but we will be back in touch with you, okay? Thank you for coming. We appreciate your comment, and we want you to know we'll do all we can for the taxpayer,
Which is
what we can do by law. We're going to adjourn this board at this time until June the 7th, July the 17th. Okay,
Thanks, sir. At 6 o'clock.
at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Now we have the Board of Commissioners meeting back in session at this time where we continue on to Health Department matters.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Come before you tonight with 2 different matters. The first is to discuss our environmental health rates to be effective July 1st. Each year, the Health Department Billing Committee researches and individually analyzes currently used environmental health rates and compares them to the fees of surrounding counties and health department cost. The Billing Committee met on June the 12th and agreed upon the proposed environmental health rates for fiscal year 24 and the Board of Health approved on June the 14th. And as requested, you also have those counties, the rates from those surrounding counties that we took into a look at, and it's Halifax County, even though theirs say 2018, I checked with them today and confirmed that those rates are still in place for the current year. And ARHS, which is Albemarle District, and they encompass Camden, Currituck, Pasquotank, Bertie, Gates, Hartford. One more, it's 8 counties, I believe, 7 or 8 counties. And then, of course, Warren County. So those are the 3 counties that were assessed.
I haven't had a chance to go through it. We just got it this evening, the comparison. Maybe you can ask, are we higher than in the other counties in permitting?
No, you will see with ours, in comparison with the ones that I gave you, we are either right in line or even a little bit under some of the rates, and some things we're not even charging for that they are charging for.
Along with this, we're opening for questions now. Sorry, I got a question. Along with this, is there any time schedule that you have when these things would take place if I paid it $300, the money that I need to pay?
Like a specific time on when it will occur?
Yes.
No, everybody that comes in, you're put in line. Like if you came 30 minutes before I came, then you would be put ahead of me. And that's how we keep up with it. We put your date and your time on your application, but there's not a specific, like right now, it depends on if you have a busy month, let's say for example, for our office, March, April, and May were all very busy months where we had a lot of applications come in. Since then, we have called up on those, and there's not very many applications coming in right now. So we will be able to get, to your application very quickly, as opposed to when we have 30 or 40 applications that come in on a certain month. But we usually like to take, I believe, even in the busiest months, I think that we are like 6 to 8 weeks out is usually what we tell people. And we could get them, and depending on if we can get earlier, then we contact them and let them know that.
Is there any way we can bring in some folks to help us so that a person who build a new house will have to wait 8 weeks before they decide with their banker or whomever that they need to build? Is there any way that time can be shown? That time is just.
So we have, and we've got, like right now, I believe I sent an email to Mr. Phillips today, I believe, that right now we only have 8 applications on our desk. We should be able to complete those this week if the rain event, depending on the weather and how theirs is supposed to occur. But we also have contracted with an individual from Wake County Public Health Systems to come in and help us with getting these down.
Well, I just think it ought to be some time, whether it's 10 days, 20 days, sure, certainly hope it's not 30 days, that a person come in to do an application. And they got somebody on hold because they want to buy a lot and they can't sell the lot. They got the application on hold with the bank. They got to wait that amount of time. And let me just say, I get a little frustrated over this. Also, I ran on the fact that we need some housetops. We need rooftops. The county needs them. Last year, we lost right around 38 houses in the new highway coming through Garrettsburg. And population, about 160 people less. And the only way we're going to improve this is we got to have some rooftop. And not an indication on you, but I want to say that what we get at the commission, I'm doing the talking, but y'all got to back me there. What we get from our citizens is the problem of getting permits for septic tanks. I mean, we get a call I think every time somebody stopped by his house for a whole hour talking about how long it's taking to get a permit. We just need to. We just need to, and I see you working on it, but you got one person coming in and I see your time is short. But I wish that we could at least give somebody, what you gonna tell your bank? Bank, I found my lot and ready to do the house, but I gotta do this, but I gotta wait 30 days. So I can get know whether I'm gonna do it or not. I just think we ought to try to shorten that time up. If it's 15 days, we're gonna try within 15 days and then getting you an answer. That's just my bag on that, because it is not right for me to work and I want to build a house and I'm ready to go. And now I'm being held up for that amount of time. I just don't think I think we can do better.
I will tell you too, that before, so we have 2 people who can do on-site on staff right now.
Okay,
And one of them just got certified in April. So last year, we only had one individual who was
Okay.
doing it all by himself. So now that we got her certified in April, and we also have this contracted individual,
that's what I want to
should
hear.
shorten our time up.
That's what I want to hear. Now, I haven't gone through this, but I also know a deterrent is the amount of money you're gonna charge. But I'm listening to you saying that what we're charged is in line with what others are charging, especially Hertford County and Warren County. Okay, we need to make sure I'm telling you right now, we're in competition with them.
Sure.
But people coming into our county. We're in
You can see
competition.
Those rates are compared, and those are 2 of the 2 counties that are listed. Hartford is encompassed in that ARHS list.
Let me ask you about, I hate it, Commissioner, but I need to ask, what about this thing about paper? Saw something on yours that says something about paper, doing more paperwork or whatever, you're charging for that.
So when it talks about paperwork, it's talking about if somebody has, like, let's say they put in a, see what the, right, where you at, where you're looking at.
The revised paper.
So, yes, so if somebody comes in and they have an application, and then let's say that they want to change their house from a 3-bedroom to a
Okay.
5-bedroom, then they'll come back in and revise the system
Okay,
to fit that gallons per day usage.
I saw that. Okay, thank you.
It's not just like us filling out a form. It's not that.
What we've heard tonight is that we're gonna do better. Septic tank permits, we got to do better. We just got to. Because what it is costing the county. When we run a water line, down the road, and if it's 20 people down the road, it's a lot different than just 5 people down the road. Cost. So the more we have, the better the cost would be. It's just one example. That's why I'm so much on building in Northampton County. Building. And I don't want no one to be deterred from building because of this, or taxes, or anything else, really. Only way we're gonna grow our counties through people.
How far, I guess, how big does the stack need to get before you call in outside help? That's the proper term.
Before we what? I'm
Before
sorry.
you call in outside help to help you do your evaluations.
Well, even though like we said, right now I have 8 in, and I spoke with my supervisor today even though that really wouldn't. They should be able to do it, the 2 that we have on staff, but because I know that we need to shorten our time, I've already called her in to come and help with these. Yes. Now, like I said, depending on the rain events that are supposed to occur this week, because we can't go out and do an inspection within 48 hours of a rain event.
Weeks probably shut you down.
Right. Well, members, y'all got any questions y'all need to answer, and that we've had these complaints, and now this is an opportunity we have, because we're talking about permits and so forth.
Who is your supervisor? Because you just said you spoke to your supervisor.
I went to my supervisor for environmental health.
Clear.
Yes.
Okay, because you,
My environmental health supervisor, my staff member. But my supervisor
Clear.
is the Board of Health Chairman.
clear. Of course, yeah, okay, okay. But you're
Sorry,
you're
I
daily operation.
Should have said my,
Okay, yes,
my staff, yes.
yeah, understood.
I apologize.
Are you fine?
I would like to see the current paired up against the proposed to see where there are actually rate increases.
Okay.
Because just having the health rates, you really can't see where there's an increase. And we just received the comparisons a few minutes before the board meeting.
Hmm.
So, and some of the language in our proposed rate is different from each of the other three that are presented. I would like to see wherever we are charging that we have, that I can compare.
To what other counties?
Right, because I'm sitting in many of them I can. But this isn't what I do on a daily, so some of them I'm having to kind of decipher a little bit to make sure that I'm comparing the right numbers. But I would feel more comfortable
I can send that to you,
with that.
to all of you.
And I know sometimes if we're not charging for something, someone else is, are we able to do it without charging? Is it gonna hurt us if we don't continue to charge? Because to charge citizens just because someone else is charging their citizens,
Right.
I wouldn't want to do that times are tight for everyone.
Right.
And if we're able to, within the budgetary constraints that we have, operate. If we're adding on fees, just because Warren has it, it might not hurt. It might not hurt a person with a lot of money to pay a $50 fee when they haven't had it, but a person who saved and scraped every single penny they have to buy a lot to put a home on, $50 can make a difference in them. So I know it might not seem like much. That was just an example. Some of these are $700, $600. Not that we weren't charging for those areas, but some of these fees are not $50 fees. They're a little bit higher. So I would just like to see the comparison. And if we don't have to charge our citizens for that, I would not want to charge our citizens.
And that's what we're currently doing. So there are several that we are not charging that other counties are, and I can even
I
point
see the
those out.
zeros by one or two.
And I can point those out in the comparison that I send you all.
I think that would be good.
Okay.
So there again, Commissioner, you're exactly right. This is a small amount of money for the county compared with a person who's gonna build a house.
All
and
of
will be
these.
paying taxes for the next 30 years or 40 years on that house. Long range, it doesn't, you were seeing the good to charge them up front $300. We could charge them $150, but yet they're gonna build a house that we need in Northampton County and a body that we need in Northampton. Just wanna throw that out to you that we don't have to charge if they're gonna build in Northampton. This is gonna make us money. Every time you give a permit, it makes the county money. I ain't talking about the money just for the fee that you charge. It's gonna make a difference in the amount of money that the county have in its coffers. Board members, we said enough about that. Could
I
we?
wanted to ask one question. I know I've heard citizens talk about the revision of paperwork. And that putting them back in queue when they do those things. Do you have currently like a citizen education seminar or something? If you're interested in building a house, here's what it takes in Northampton.
So we've actually talked about that in the past couple of weeks because it would not only determine what our office does, but for building and coding as well,
Yes.
because they have to get permits from their office as
Whole
well.
gamut.
And we have actually talked about maybe trying to do a town hall, a community forum or something to the effect that we would invite people to educate them on what it all takes to go through this process. And we have talked about that in the last week or so.
And I don't know if when CADA does their housing programs, if they include this in their process, but it would be really good if the citizens who were thinking about it, I've talked to many young citizens who are just trying to buy their first house and their parents didn't own a home, they rented. And they don't really know anybody else who's been through that process. So it's for them, everything that you can do to help educate them. It shortens your time on the back end of you went out, did this, oh, they decided they wanted, then they understand that as much as you can have right in the beginning and the difference between when you're marking off boundary lines versus your septic system, that kind of thing. Some of them, they don't know. They just get someone to mark off boundary lines and that's not actually what's going to be okay for them to get their septic permit, which puts them back in queue again.
Right.
So if you're not doing it, that would be awesome. Maybe you can partner with some agencies that could do some things and offer, you know, refreshments or something. Because there's many agencies out there that are doing it. Thank you.
Board members, we know that July 1 coming up, but can we have this table until she give us back that information to see if we want to make any changes in this till our next meeting, maybe have it become effective August 1 instead of July 1? Is that possible? Would that do, manager, would it do anything to us? Would that affect you?
The only thing that it's going to affect is our accreditation is this year, our accreditation site visit, and they're going to be looking at it. But I can certainly put a statement in there to try to do that.
I'm not, well, maybe we need to do part of it and not the other part that deal with accreditation. The septic tape system and that not a part of that, is it?
Yes, sir. They look at all of our
It
fees.
Okay, so
That's why we bring it from ours to you.
Okay.
if you approve a fee, extension of a fee, so then you have fees. If you approve a 30-day extension of the current fees, would that be something, you're not the accreditation agency, but is that something
I
that
can
as long as an
ask.
active fee structure is in place, which it would be if you if
Right.
we extended our current fee structure for 30 more days?
Yeah, I don't see why it shouldn't as long as we, justify that and put it in there. I think it will be fine. But I'll contact
give
them
us
tomorrow and
time.
ask them to what verbiage I need to put into our evidence for that.
Well, members, what is your pleasure?
I make a motion that we table the decision for the health department rates for 2023, 2024 to our July 17th meeting to allow time for the comparison side to side.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
Second.
Probably second that we would table this until the July 17th meeting.
Do we have to vote on continuing the fee structure for 30 more days, extending the current fee structure?
I would say yes, because we're gonna have to use these minutes in our,
Okay.
in my evidence with the state.
Go back and read.
So I make a motion that we extend our current fee structure for 2022, 2023 into the first month of our fiscal year to allow time for the comparison rates and table the decision on such rates till future rates until July 17th.
Thank you.
Second.
Probably second, we would table this and do whatever the vice chair has just said till the July 17th. Are you ready for your question? All in favor, let it be known by you sign aye.
Aye.
I brought Max Taylor.
Faulkner.
Aye.
Let's have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
My second issue that I come today is our clinic rates to be effective upon approval July 1st. And these were analyzed currently used by the health department and compare them to the most recent Medicaid rates, Medicaid reimbursement rate, fees of surrounding counties, and our health department costs. So that's any supplies and our salaries for those people who are using those.
We'll have a lot to do with that because their rates are set by Medicare anyway. A lot of them, that's what makes it different. What is your pleasure on that?
So moved.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
proper second that we would do the rates increase as she has given us, as our health director have given us. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor, let known by you, sign aye.
Aye.
Broadnax Taylor,
Faulkner.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Proposal approval of GFL contract amendment, to county manager.
Good evening. This is the extension of the contract for a 2-year period. We went back to GFL and asked for a change in section 8, the terms, and they agreed to change the terms to take out the 90-day provision, written 90-day notice, and to put in the agreement may be extended for an additional 2-year period upon mutual written agreement by both parties. That was the only change.
Hey, we've had this before, so we talked about this in last meeting. We do know that we have this and we try to get it for a shorter time, but this 2 years or not. Really don't, personally, I don't think it's a bad deal because it means that our rate will not go up. What we charge in the county, citizens will not go up. That's all separate. You're picking up the garbage, trash. Picking up trash is separate part of our tax. What we're doing, so at least we know that it will not go up for the next 2 years. Also, is it in the contract? I didn't see that. Is it in the contract how we can get out of the contract if they fail to do their job? They fail to.
Sure. I don't have the entire contract in front of me, but sure, if a party's in breach and in default, there's cause to terminate.
Can I ask one
Yes.
question? CPI, what is CPI?
Consumer Price Index, CPIU.
Can you revise this to actually spell that out?
Well, members, trash got to be picked up. I lack our trash system. Come by your house, pick it up. A lot of counties, you got to take it to a certain place. That's really inconvenient. You got to put it in your car, your truck. Got to take it somewhere. And it's get all, you know what trash does. I just like the trash pickup. Of course, they have problems like everybody else. They have problems with labor. You know that. They got trucks. All trucks break down. But we do have a system where you can call in. And I want to say to the citizens of our county, if you got a problem, then you need to call our clerk to the board. She has that telephone number. She'll give it to you, but then she is the one from our end that contacts them. She knows who to contact, making sure that all the trash is picked up. We do know that some days, that last week, mine's supposed to be picked up on Wednesday, picked up on Thursday. You got to keep in mind that it's human there too, and I didn't call, but they came the next day. So we got to work with them. I think we talked about that last meeting. What is your pleasure, board member? I heard from
Mr. I move approval of the proposed GFL contract amendment
Did I have a
as
second?
presented.
Did I have a second?
second,
We move in proper second, that we have the GFL contract before. It will be at the same rate it's been in the past. So if we all would, all in favor of it, say aye.
Aye.
Broadnax Taylor,
Faulkner.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you so much. At this time, we're gonna have financial matters.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will be representing the Northampton County Project Ordinance for the Northampton County Sewer Line Extension. This is due to a revision in the verbiage presented within the ordinance. Be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Northampton County, North Carolina, that pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 159, Section 13.2, the following project ordinance is hereby adopted. Section 1, the project authorized is the design, permitting, and instruction inspections for the proposed lift station or stations and force main along River Road in Northampton County, NC, further referred to as Northampton County Sewer Line Extension Project. Section 2, the officers of this unit are hereby directed to proceed with the project within the budget contained herein to develop the land facing the lake in Roanoke Rapids, NC. Assist with failing septic systems and give Northampton County the potential to form regional partnerships with Warren and other neighboring counties. Section 3, the revenues for the above project cost is anticipated to be available to complete this project from USDA, state, and federal grant resources. Section 4, the finance officer is hereby directed to maintain within the project fund sufficient, specific, detailed accounting records to satisfy federal regulations. Section 5, funds may be reimbursed to the general fund for prior project expenses. Section 6, the finance officer is directed to report on a quarterly basis on the financial status of the project to the governing board. Section 7, copies of this project ordinance shall be furnished to the budget officer, the clerk to the governing board, and the finance officer for direction in carrying out this project. Adopted this 19th day of June, 2023. Thank you.
Members, have the Northampton County Sewer Extension for you, audience, for you. At this time, we have no monies, other than the monies we got from rescue funds in our budget for this project. This project will be totally funded by state, federal, and funded likewise by the people who use this system. Okay, all of y'all know that water and sewer in Northampton County is under a whole new operation called it Enterprise Fund that operate our water and sewer in the county. That is what we have. Could I have a motion or do I have a discussion? We discussed this already. We made those changes that you are requested that we make. Any question? Could I have a motion then?
I have a question.
Yeah.
One is section 5, and it says funds may be reimbursed to the general fund for prior project expenses. They're going to be reimbursed from where?
Right.
So is it saying if we receive grant funding, we would reimburse?
Yeah, we're gonna, the grant fund is gonna reimburse us. See, the way it's gonna work, and I'm gonna talk about this later, because I just got a whole new, I'm announcing in a few minutes. Same thing, but what it is that we gotta spend the funds and they're gonna reimburse us back the funds that we need. I mean, out of the amount of money that we receive. If we have to go into our funds that we have for water and sewer, they will reimburse us for those funds. And if we're gonna need a reimbursement, Because they're not gonna give us the fund until we have the engineer do the report that they need. Once the engineer and do their report, then they will give us the funds and then we will reimburse those funds back. Those funds do not necessarily have to come from taxpayers' dollars. Those funds can come from the ARPA money that we have in our budget for water and sewer already.
Chairman Tyler, can I just add that we're not authorizing to start construction? So it's just for those assessment fees that just mentioned there. That's usually the startup fees.
So when it says within the budget contained herein, since there's no budget listed here, which budget is it referring to? Is where actually in here is it referring to that budget?
We don't have a budget. We don't have a budget for that. But once we get it, we're gonna have a budget. We don't know the total amount of funds. And I'm gonna go through that again because I got another example for you in my remarks tonight as I make this announcement. Just gotta work the same way. We gotta do another one of these. Gotta have it ready at the next meeting. Good has already asked for it. We gotta have that audience ready before we can move.
So the ordinance is basically saying we will front load the expense and get reimbursed if we receive the grant funds. Is that what this is saying?
No, it's saying that what we're gonna do, we will receive the grant funds. When we receive the grant funds, we will reimburse. Just the same way we doing right now with the water system that we got. We doing phase 6 of the water system. What it is, we, out of our budget, we will, according to the contract, we will give the monies for those water, for that water to the contractor, and then the USD is going to reimburse us. Just that simple. And you can't do it without this being on the books. And we will not spend any money unless we bring it before you all to spend it. Because the county manager doesn't have that authority. Once we have it, I'm gonna give it to you in a few minutes. I got it. Not on this one, but I'm gonna give it to you in a few minutes because I just got it. On the house. Money's there. We gotta do we spend our county finance office, we gotta get reimbursed.
So this is to start the design process?
Yeah.
Correct.
And Mr. Chairman, it was my understanding that we're using ESSER ARPA funds. Is that correct?
We gonna use it.
If we're going to use any,
Right.
not from the budget, but from the funding we received for the American Rescue Plan.
Yeah, if we
Clear.
use it.
I,
We
okay,
might not have to use any.
right.
Get it from the state, folks.
I just-
I'll know in August. We'll know in August. If we get it from the state, we won't have to do
Yeah,
this.
budget.
The state will send a check right down to us that we can spend it right then, like we're doing the courthouse.
Clear.
That 15 million is in the bank, Southern Bank.
Is this design process got to be bid out or is it already?
What's in there?
The design process, does that have to be bid out or is it?
Yes. All of it will be bidded out. Yes, sir.
So the ARPA funds reference, is that the 1.7 million? It just helps to have that reference.
Yeah, that's ARPA funds. That's the key.
How much
Yes.
that is.
That's there for this project, that there for phase.
Of the water.
Okay. How we told them we would spend it through infrastructure. All right. I'm listening. I have a motion that we approve this. No, sir. No, sir. I'm not gonna do that tonight. So y'all, this last meeting, you can do it, you do it on that piece of paper. And you come up here. The last meeting, if me got on order, I'm not gonna have it tonight. We're gonna do things decent and in order. Everybody come in. But say it again. Okay, all right, give it to us after the meeting. We'll control, we'll change. Okay. We'll change it. If it is, we'll change it. Okay, board members, do y'all want this audit? Do y'all, you don't? Just tell me what you want. I'm listening. No motion?
Mr. Chairman, just want to, just the ARPA funds will cover it, not the word budget, correct? What we have in our ARPA funds, that's on
Yeah, but it's in the budget.
clear.
Yeah.
But just like we received 6.2 million in the school system, but we understand.
Got it.
I do. Yes, sir.
I have no motion. We're gonna have motion then to table it, to dismiss it, whatever you want to do. Make me any different. You know what I mean?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I guess my concern is here and there is an error.
Stand here.
Can
We can postpone it. We can do whatever you.
can we have the attorney review what the error may potentially be?
I serve at the board's pleasure. I'm happy to do whatever you wish.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Can
Can
we
we
table?
recess for 2 minutes? Is that possible?
I mean, it doesn't have to
Can
be
we
passed
amend our
tonight,
agenda?
anyway.
Well,
but
I know we keep back and
Yeah,
forth,
back
but
and-
that's something as simple as just sharing to see if it's truly an error or just if it requires tabling.
You can table it. The board has the
agenda
discretion
and
to
recess?
recess the meeting. However you,
Just a minute, I think maybe that would be enough. So it doesn't become the back and forth, it's just it's
Got it. I'm not sure what the area is.
that's why I said I would, before I would vote, if someone living in that area see something that a direction makes the difference,
River Road.
that, I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the inner workings of that as maybe people who studied it.
I'm gonna recess our meeting for 2 minutes. Back in session now. Attorney.
Thank you, Chairman Tyner. Spoke with the citizen, Mr. Powell, who has suggested that under section 1 of the proposed project ordinance, that we include in addition to River Road, that it all should be along Highway 46 and River Road.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And then Mr. Powell has suggested in section 2 that to develop the land facing the lake, and that this land is not actually in Roanoke Rapids NC, it's in Northampton County.
So true. I hope so. I hope so. Y'all heard the directions for board members. I didn't see that, but
So assuming those are fine, my recommendation to the board would be to approve the project ordinance with the noted revisions.
I would like to recommend an additional revision under section 2, instead of saying within the budget contained within the allocated ARPA funds, to specifically spell out that's the funding source. We're desiring to use. That we're authorizing to go ahead forward with. And if it gets beyond that, then that would be something different. But like the enterprise funds, but that's. So are we gonna say ARPA and enterprise, or just enterprise, or just ARPA
you need to say in effect.
and enterprise?
Yeah, you need to.
Say both.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, hearing the three noted components for improvement in the Northampton County sewer line extension, I move approval.
Have a second.
Second, Faulkner.
Move proper second to approve the Northampton County sewer line extension. Are you ready for a question? Yes. All in favor, known by you, sign aye.
Aye.
Ronex Taylor.
Faulkner.
That motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. That's all. All right, let's continue on this time. Any other financial matters?
No, sir.
At this time we got counties. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Tyner. Citizens, for those of you who have signed up for the citizen comments, when your name is called, please approach the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, identify yourselves. You will be allotted 5 minutes to make your comments to the boards. If you have any questions of the board, county staff will respond to you. The board will not respond tonight or engage in a dialogue with you. This time is allotted on the agenda under North Carolina law to allow citizens to make commentary on county business. This is not an open forum for anyone to be publicly critical of the performance of any county commissioner or county employee, and the chair has the discretion to maintain the decorum of the meeting. Thank you. The first name I have is Kay Powell.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me speak a moment. This involves on May the 15th on the agenda, item number 6 was proposed candidate appointment to the Northampton County Economic Development Commission, would have been by Charles R. Tyner, our chairman. And I didn't understand why at that evening, Commissioner Calvin Edwards had it removed from the agenda. And it has not been put back on the agenda. I know Mr. Alan Tashima had information was attached to the board on the agenda. I don't understand why it was stopped. That's my question on May 15th. And why hasn't it come back on into action? Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Patty?
Hello, everybody. Most of my questions are scripted, but something else kind of came up tonight that I want to put before you too. I was surprised that you had some property value appeals before you tonight. My husband and I called the representative from Pearson back in the window to do the informal appeal. And we were led to believe that we would get a revised or a confirmation that they stand with their first assessment. And we've not seen anything, and some quick communications with neighbors indicated that they haven't either. So I'm hoping that we're still going to get something to either confirm that that value stands or that they agree with the justifications that we put forth. So I hope we're not outside the window to make a formal appeal if we feel the need to do so. So that's my additional question. So related to assessments and the tax rate. While it's been stated that for the county, 72 cents is the revenue neutral rate, and I understand that. Everyone's revenue neutral rate is going to be different based on the proportional change in their property tax value. So in our case, our property value increased by more than 70% with no improvements to the property. So our revenue neutral rate is really 52 cents. So even though the county is dropping their rate 6.5 cents, my family's still incurring the equivalent of a 30-cent tax rate increase. Now, our assessed value, based on those things we discussed with Pearson, is close to fair. And I'll just go ahead and say we have some unfinished square footage, and I want to be sure that's accounted for appropriately. So I'm just going with what they initially gave me for tonight's example. So our new value, stated value, was pretty shocking, but we've done our due diligence and we've confirmed that it's fair. And we have to accept that reality. But I know others are taking a greater hit than we are, but I'm sharing this with the board tonight in hopes that you can at least understand where some of the angst in the community is coming from. Your decrease of 6.5% is still a 30-cent increase for me. So anyway, there's concern now about our new tax bills. This young couple who was in here appealing, my heart goes out to them tonight, but concern about the budget now. And of course, these major planned projects that have been on your agenda. So I'm just kind of sharing that as background. That said, if my calculations are correct, and please correct me if I'm not right, but it looks to me like for every penny in the tax rate generates about $257,000 for the county based on the new property tax values. So as an example, the school land purchase is in the budget at $1.5 million. That's almost that's almost 6 cents. It's about 5.8 cents of the tax rate. I know Mr. Tyner mentioned that the last meeting that the state might reimburse that cost. But my question is, if it is reimbursed, can the tax rate be reduced by that 5.8 cents? And if it can't be reduced and we're reimbursed, what will happen to that $1.5 million $1.5 million surplus that will be in the 23-24 budget? Now, at first glance, $1.5 million seem pretty insignificant. But when that's 6 cents of my tax bill, that's the equivalent of $700 for me. And I say that just to give you some perspective as I continue. So now the sewer project. Discussions this evening. I do understand that most projects have an advanced planning stage where you do your surveys, your studies, your detailed design work, And at the conclusion of that phase, you can usually get a pretty good cost estimate for your project. And that's the point at which you go apply generally for your grants, or you make sure you've got your funding sources in hand before you go forward with the construction phase. I also understand those upfront costs have to be charged to the general fund or the enterprise fund or grants that you already have in hand. You're addressing the reimbursement with a reimbursement resolution tonight, so I'm good with that. But my question is to the commissioners, is it your intent to go forward with the construction phase of the project only if sufficient grants are secured to cover the cost? Do you anticipate a matching component with this grant? If you do, how is that matching requirement going to be funded? And if a grant's not received and you continue forward with that project, how will it be funded? Okay, now, assuming the sewer project moves forward.
Time is about up now.
All right, so I can get through this.
It's up.
5 minutes. Assuming that sewer project is funded and it moves forward, I want to ask the same questions, and they're in my written questions I've already emailed. I want to ask those same questions about the community center. All right, in addition, with regard to the community center, how will the maintenance, the operating, and the program costs be funded? Has a revenue analysis been done to estimate the receipt support? And that's the end of my questions, but I just hope that you see, with understanding the 30-cent increase I'm going to incur, and these other projects that are on the horizon, why I'm so concerned about how they're going to be taken care of and what the impact is going to be to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Floyd Joyner.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
May I approach Commission Board to give you presentation, copy of our presentation in the spirit of this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Joyner.
Let me begin by saying that the residents and the citizens of this county, we live up on the lake, Lake Gaston. And the service in terms of trash, fire protection, fire and EMS protection, the citizens pays the local government. They pay it, and out of our taxes, our roads and services provided. This evening, I'm going to be specific and disagree respectfully with the county commission board and its attorney, Mr. McCullough. Mr. McCullough, in due respect, appreciate your letter. Before I do that, there was an article, let me do this quick. There was an article in the News Herald dated April 26, 2023. And the article says, roads. Let me read a paragraph. Enrico, an elder couple here continues to seek answers to a problem that they have faced since 2004. Remember that date, 2004. How to reach their homes without getting stuck in the mud. Floyd Joyner, 81-year-old veteran of the Vietnam War, and his 78-year-old wife, Dorothy, purchased property in the subdivision and built a home on Spring Garden Lane in 2004. Now, nearly 20 years ago, the narrow dirt path that leads to their residence is often impassable due to the periods of wet weather. Let me read you a note from the planning board, one of your administration, dated back in 2004. In 2004, Northampton County Zone Office. Subject is Spring Garden Lane. You don't have this one. Found this, and I want to present it to you. During the past, this is for dear Mr. Edwards. During the past several months, our office has received some complaints about the condition of Spring Garden Lane from citizens that live in Spring Garden Estate. On August the 23rd, 2004, I traveled down Spring Garden Lane while I was out performing my regular inspection duties to verify the complaints for myself before writing this letter. I noticed that Spring Garden Lane appears to be a hard packed gravel and clay mixture with a travel way averaging about 15 feet in width and having some moderate grades of various intervals. I also took notice that at the base of each grade, there seems to be evidence of erosion possibly due to poor drainage. The day of my visit was a hot, dry day, and the road was in condition where any vehicle can pass without incident. However, as I write this letter, we are experiencing the remnants of a tropical depressed gasket in the form of a vast quantity of rain. With this in mind, I emphasize with the residents' concerns about the conditions of Spring Garden Lane. As you know, Northampton County do not maintain roads, either public or private. Nevertheless, as we have received these complaints, it is suggested of this department that you meet with the residents along Spring Garden Lane and come to some type of agreement concerning this situation. Phone number signed, William Flynn, Land Use Administration, Northampton County. That was in the year 2004. Remember, the article says road raised. Roads, not road. In response to the county position and Attorney Mr. McCullough, as you are aware, my wife and I testified before the Northampton Board of Commission on January the 18th, 2003, to address this dangerous, egregious condition of Spring Garden Lane. The sole means to access to our home at 325 Spring Garden Lane in Henrico, North Carolina. In your following letter to us, dated February 15, 2023, you emphasize with our complaint, but essentially asserted that the county has no role to play in resolving this matter. Respectfully, I disagree that the county can avoid any responsibility by considering this, quote, altogether a private matter, because the county has from the outset maintained clearly erosion land record on which my wife and I rely in making our decisions to build our home on Spring Garden Lane. These false records.
Mr. John, if you give you one more minute, your time is up, 5 minutes.
One more.
Okay.
Can I get 3 more minutes? Let me just finish. These false records which depict a road that was never built to the approved specification remain on the county's website to this day. In reliance on the presentation made in these records maintained by the county, my wife and I signed a memorandum of road maintenance with Northampton County in which we agree to maintain said road in good and passable condition. But it is beyond dispute that this road was never been approved. This road never been in good passable condition because it was never constructed in accordance with the approved plan. The point has been further amplified by the fire department and post office, which both concluded in response to the county that the road is not safe. I ask you, if the road is not safe for the fire department or postal service to access, how can it possibly be safe for the residents who must use it every day? Northampton County is engaging in an ongoing practice of negligence by allowing this dangerous condition to continue unabated. The negligence stems from 1, the county's duty to maintain accurate records. 2, the county's breach of that duty by knowingly maintaining false and inaccurate records. The existence and presentation of inaccurate records causing residents of Spring Garden Lane to rely upon them and building their homes there.
All right, Mr. John, we got the message. Okay.
Could we will get a response?
Yes, sir, we'll do it again.
Yes.
We certainly will. We'll do it again. We have the responsibility to give them. We'll do it again. Okay, thank you so much.
Dorothy Joyner?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I really just want to reiterate the point being made by my husband, Floyd Joyner. My main concern is safety. And I think that any and every one of you can understand that safety is a concern. You know, even when we talk about the recreation center coming in, we still think about safety. But a couple of things happened recently. Since the last time we were here to speak to you, having help, we're constantly helping our daughter and son-in-law with the childcare. So in this particular instance, my daughter brought me home, returning from Maryland late at night. And as she was bringing me home, we were coming down Spring Garden Lane. And I had a great scare because the car that we were in, she almost went over in the ditch. Now, this is one of the things that we've been talking about. We've explained it, we've given you pictures. We've invited you to come down to see that road. And this was at night. So I'm saying, as I said to you before, if you have the will, you can do something about this. It's a continuing situation and the board needs to do something about it. And so that is our appeal to you. And, oh yes, I just did that. Yes.
See the rain out there, you're asking for everything.
Mr. John, let her, she's.
Okay, just let me say this. What he's saying is that we invite the board to come down so you can see it for yourself. So you can see it for yourself. And you keep putting this off and, you know, sometimes I see some looks that look like smirks from the very people who should understand the situation. And I hope that's not the case. Because I think that we're all intelligent. We can respect each other. And if you see the situation, I don't see why you can't empathize, why you can't do something about it. Because I don't think he got to the point in the letter where it talks about the developer. You gave, when I say you, I'm talking about Northampton County Commission or Board, allowed the developer to put this in place. So it is up to you to do something about that too. You have to take some kind of responsibility. And that is our request. Yes.
Thank you.
But I have one other question for Attorney McCullough. I would just like for you to tell us who gave the order for the trash department not to come down Spring Garden Lane? That's a question we would like to know. Who gave that order for the trash department not to come down Spring Garden Lane? We are taxpayers, pay our taxes. And, okay, thank you.
Erica D. Smith?
Good evening, Commissioners. I live beside the Joiners. I live at 359 Spring Garden Lane. And this is a picture in your packet that they provided for you. And I want to highlight this picture. You see this orange cone? Now, I listened to their impassioned plea But I want to share with you an experience that one of the residents who lives with me encountered late at night. It was rainy and it was slippery. And beside this orange cone is a 10-foot drop. And it's a 10-foot drop, and there is a stream that runs under. It runs from up the hill to down the hill. So on this stream, a resident who lives with me, who is a public school teacher and could not afford to live anywhere else. And so he lived with me. He's a hard worker, and he almost lost his life because in the rain and the slippery mud, 2 of his tires went off of Spring Garden Lane. His car was suspended. He opened the door in his confusion and fell 10 feet down in a puddle of water and mud. I thank God that I didn't have to call his mother and say that your son fell and the car fell on top of him. This is a dangerous road. I implore you to come out to Spring Garden Lane, to the resident where they live, because it's worse. And you have the pictures here. And I'd like for you to come after it has rained. It's impassable. I listened when the contract was approved. Mr. Edwards, what was it for GTL? Is that the name of the sanitation system?
GFA.
And I listened to you, Commissioner Tyner, when you talked about the convenience of having your trash picked up. And that's nice because other counties, you have to take your bags of trash and you have to dump them at a waste site. But guess what? Not all the residents in Northampton County have that luxury. I pay my taxes to Northampton County, but yet I don't get basic services. The US Post Office cannot deliver on that impassable road. The sanitation department does not come to our house and pick up our garbage receptacles. We have to drag them. For them, it's it's 3/4 of a mile. For me, it's half a mile. I have to drag it up a hill full of garbage, and I put it on Edwards Beach Road, just before the entrance where the center that you all are going to build, where you have that second sign. About 200 yards up, you will see my trash can that I leave there, and I just pile my trash up and I just bring it out, when I can, which is sometimes burdensome when I have my granddaughter. But it's not all about me. I asked, when I came before you on January the 18th, I asked several questions, and I asked this county to take a look and to do a survey and to do an audit of your unpaved roads, because there are so many residents across this county that need their roads paved for opportunity. And you answered my question. I asked, in the last 20 years, how many secondary roads has the county taken the responsibility to try to connect their citizens who pay their taxes? And guess what the response was from the attorney? Absolutely zero. And so now you have a grant that pays for the sewer and the water, and perhaps that will free up some other funds. So if you would, please, if you would delegate this task to a task force, a working group, or even the Economic Development Board. I mean, when was the last time we had an update from the Economic Development about what's going on in Northampton County? There are more ways to raise revenue than getting people to purchase permits so they can build homes. We need to build companies. We need to build jobs. We need to create a whole lot for our citizens. And I'm not asking you to do anything that I haven't tried to work hard with you to get done, but I want to leave with a few questions. If I were your supervisor and I tasked you with an assignment of finding out ways that you could create opportunities for roads to be paved, I provided you with resources from North Carolina general statutes. You told the joiners that it's a private matter. If indeed it is a private matter, I shared with you general statutes that provides opportunities for private roads to be paved. If I gave you that as an assignment and you returned it to me saying, I don't think that's our responsibility, what kind of grade do you think you're going to get from the taxpayers? What research have you done into the state's secondary road paving program for your citizens? Did you review the Department of Transportation and the North Carolina general statutes that were submitted that outlined a statutory process for paving private roads? Did you review that? Do you have the capacity to delegate a ways and means for citizens of this county to be assisted in the process of secondary road paving. Is it your responsibility to promote the welfare and the safety of your citizens, particularly your most vulnerable ones? And as my timer is going off, we have a family that came before you to talk about their tax valuation. My taxes went up as well. And I am single and I have one income. When taxes are raised, you got to also think about the interest rate going up. And when you're escrowing all of that, that is the difference of $300 to $500 more. And some people don't have the money for that. That's some people, but I can tell you, as a citizen of Northampton County, nothing enrages me more than to be paying more in my taxes to Northampton County, and I still haven't gotten the services that you all owe me from when the time that I built my house in this county. And it is unfair that I have to pay for a PO box because the mail can't deliver. It's unfair that I have to drag my trash and the burden it is and on me as a person and on my health. And it's just sad that we have taxation without representation. And I think that you all owe us as citizens a better response than I don't think it's our responsibility. If you could delegate a task force so that you could have a working group so we could solve this problem and stop passing the buck.
Jenny Parks.
My name is Tenny Parks, and after listening to all these speeches, and I don't want mine to sound like as if I'm not concerned. When I read the ordinance for the sewer, I became very concerned and curious about what was best for our community and for myself. So I started asking questions, as a teacher does. I'm a former teacher. And I started doing some research. One of the questions, and as a representative from my community of 30 homes, and we are on a state maintained road, but we do not have an HOA, and that is by our choice. But we do have meetings, and some of my neighbors have been asking me about the sewer and what is it going to do for them. Until I began to come to these meetings, I realized that this sewer is only going to be built on down 46 and on River Road to Warren County and go down to Edwards Beach. I don't know how much the residents know about the sewer line and what you as a residential person is if you wanted to get on the sewer line. And I've also found out that it's not going to go down into any development. It's going to be up right now to the residents. If you have a problem, which it states in that ordinance for failing septic tanks, if you have one as a resident, it's going to be your responsibility to go from your home to 46 or all the way to River Road to connect. You will have to put in a pump and you will have to run the lines. And for me, that's 8/10 of a mile. I live off River Road. That means I got to pay the cost for a line, 8/10 of a mile down River Road. I also have to buy the pump, which I understand is not that expensive. But there's also a creek that I have to cross when I go into my development. So therefore, I would have to contact EPA to get their permission to put a line in. Also, my street is very hilly, and DOT has already told me that it may take more than one pump to pump it to River Road. Another thing was then I'm going to have to maintain my own line because the county will not do it. I have to maintain my pump. There's a cost to me every month for sewer. And by the way, I'm not on the water system because I have a fantastic well, so I'm not gonna mess that up. And another thing is, I found that it would be, I already have a neighbor that had a problem, and his was from a building situation, and he has had to replace his septic line, and it would be a whole lot cheaper than for him to go from 2 miles to run to the River Road. Another thing that a question I would have is, will the state allow a private citizen to put a line down a public road? And I have contacted DOT, and they're supposed to get back with me tomorrow. Their director was in Africa and was not getting back until today. I don't know if that's even feasible for citizens of Northampton County. You may have already checked this out and you have the answer, but I do not have the answer. So we don't know if private individuals, if my septic system were to fail, if I could feasibly, is it going to be cost worthy for me to even try to get on a septic line? Because right now at this point in time, and I'm not getting any younger, like a lot of us in this room are, I may never see that septic line come down through my development or a lot of your developments. We may all have to do that if that becomes the problem. So those are just some of the comments I'd like to make about the septic line and questions that are being asked to me by my residential area. Thank you.
Alan Tashima.
I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to speak tonight. It's going to be kind of short. A lot of my comments have already been talked about. I'm Alan Tashima at 803 Pine Tree Drive. And I just like to reiterate that you've already passed the resolution, I think with some changes on the resolution for the Northampton County sewer line. And I know there were some questions on that. The biggest thing that I've got to talk about is to just ask the question is, you're going to be proceeding with the project within budget constraints. Okay, I have never heard, and I haven't seen anything within the current budget funding lines for 23-24 that calls out this project. So my question is, what is the budget line and what are you going to use to fund this? Because that specifically says in here that this team will spend the money up to that budget line. All right. We've already changed the one about adding 46 and others, but I'd like to, you talked about uplift stations and then also force main. I guess it's the main funding line. It would be really nice if you could put out a satellite imagery, putting it out where this line's going to go along the road. And then also, where is that end of that line on the end of 46 going to be hooked up to? I have not heard anybody say anything of where is the sewage treatment plant that's going to accept all this sewage. I don't know where it's built in Northampton County, or we're going to pay it to go over to Halifax County or whatever. Question that I would like to see. The basic thing is, putting out a plan. I attached two things on my speaking notes. One was attachment 1, which I pulled out of a previous article from the board, and then also attachment 2, which was pulled out from the board. And I had a question on where was the overage money going to compensate for the overspend in 22-23. The response back was there is no overage. We're going to be under plan. Okay. Based upon attachment 1, if you take a look at the bottom, it shows about a $2 million overspend. Budgeted was about $39 million. Spending was $41 million. That to me is $2 million overspent. But then look at attachment 2. Attachment 2 was from the chief financial officer saying that as of the end of May, they had budgeted $47 million, which I cannot find in any budget documents. The other one too is that in 11 months, they've spent, excuse me, we've spent $37 million. So I don't understand the math that you're going to be able to spend $10 million in 30 days. Rebuild the road, maybe help some other people, but that's $10 million. Where is that money going from? Where was that updated in the budget documents that showed that you were going to come out with a budget of $47 million? Okay, the last thing is the RCN number. Excuse me. We've talked a little bit about our RCN number. That stands for replacement cost new. That's what the tax department says, what they assess on. Okay. RCN is also comparable to replacement cost for your home when it's insured. I use USAA. USAA came out and did a site survey after my house was done and built. They gave me a replacement cost estimate. It was pretty close to what I expected, and I'm paying my insurance based upon that. I cannot increase my insurance to some number that the county has told my house is worth. That's illegal, right? That's one thing. The other thing too is I called that tax office. I told them, one, I had a new home. I had an appraisal. I had a documentation from USAA. Response to me was, ooh, you got an appraisal. Ooh, you've gotten a document from the insurance company. Can you talk to us about that? Because we have no idea what you're talking about because we didn't know insurance companies did stuff like that. Okay. Then the next day, I get a phone call back from that tax office saying, can you talk to us a little bit more so we can update our software based upon your appraisal? Well, the appraisal, okay, was out of date because it was for my building contract. But I said, I can give you one for almost every year that USAA insures my home. Dead silence. I haven't heard back from them on what the house is going to be valued at. I'm hoping that I'll come out with it. Okay, RCN, replacement cost new. You have on your tax cards, and we've seen it, called a neighborhood adjustment number. They took my RCN number and multiplied that by 2.1. That is how all of us get that outrageous assessment that mine went up 121%. Okay, we've asked the question, what is the 2.1 neighborhood adjustment? Don't know. Those are the type of questions that we all have. And thank you so much for listening to me talk.
Thank you.
Cameron Deloach. Forgive me. Mr. Stanek. Forgive me, I'm having trouble reading.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Wenzel Stanek. I live at 428 Windward Drive in Henrico. And I'm brought here today because of the same thing that a lot of other people have already talked about. One lady talked about the fact that she went for an informal conference with the appraisers and to discuss their tax assessment. I did the same process, said I would receive something in April. I've never received anything. So I don't know where that stands, but there are many, many, many people out there in the same boat. I think you really need to put some heat on your assessors to say, well, if you promise to do something, you better follow up because your constituents are coming to talk to you. And that's not right. And Dr. Edwards, I feel sorry for you because you got Lake Gaston right now, which is me, and our appraisals are off the hook. I took the opportunity to go online and print out everybody's tax forms, but not for my whole subdivision, but for a sample of the homes throughout there, where I found 50% increase, 60% increase, 45% increase, 70% increase, 46% increase, 50% increase, 41% increase. Found a number of them just, empty lots didn't get any increase or went down. They didn't have a house on it. A 69% increase. And we're not talking small dollars here. This 69% increase. This house was originally appraised on last appraisal $527.75, and now it's currently appraised at $881,504. 77% increase. Next one. And it was funny that some of the lots didn't get any increase. So we have like some $20,000 lots and some lots on the lake or some lots off the lake. This lot is off the lake. It's 7.5 acres and it came out for $418,000 for the lot and never moved in price. And that's just for 7.5 acres, which is off the lake. So I don't know how in the heck they got that number. Another one, 43%. And here's a lot that was went down by 50%. Don't know why. This one went down by 50%. And these are lots without homes on them. They're just land. And on this one happens to be a well-known lot. It's was appraised for $434,580 5 years ago. We weren't even within the window. We're just 5 years away. It just got appraised for $832,554, increase of 92%. That happens to be my lot. And I almost fell over when I saw that. That's why I've been trying to follow the process and talk to the appraisers and go through it. And it has been quite an experience because I've owned many homes over the years. And this is the first one that I've walked into, said, what am I doing here? Because I didn't retire to Lake Gaston, look forward to a assessment of 92% increase. And I've only been here 5 years. And that means the next 8 years, I'm going to be paying that 92% increase till the next appraisal comes around. One other comment on the last meeting we went to about ABC Liquor Board. They were talking about a situation where our ABC store in our county is losing money. So here we're going to go. We're just going to build a new store and it's going to fix everything. I'm in retail. I came from retail management and I've opened many, many stores and I've closed many, many stores. And in that process, I found if you put lipstick on a pig, you probably still end up with a pig. And it's, I think, well, I didn't hear anything about market research or market studies, whether or not they're going to build it where that bank is. The bank is just right around the corner from the current liquor store. The current liquor store is awful. I've been in it once since I moved to Lake Gaston. Now we have a pretty liquor store up in Lake Gaston, but that's in a different county. So that's where everybody on the lake goes. But that liquor store, the only national retailer around it is Hardee's. And I think there's a Subway across the street. But there is a high school, a middle school, and an elementary school right down the street. Not the right place for a liquor store. So I think the economy or the customer has proven it true. Hopefully the liquor store will realize it before they sink another $500,000 into building something else. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Richard Rumplick,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm flabbergasted because almost everybody here has talked about what I was going to talk about. So I'm going to go off my script and have some open heart conversation, which is, I don't take this wrong. If I was sitting there in your place, I would want those two signs right there. So you guys could read them and have them in your face the entire time you're looking here and making faces and you do it, everybody do it. It's a human thing. But it's still very, very bad to do. Not blaming anyone, just telling you perception. Go somewhere and you get somebody money and they go. You happy? Does it make you feel good? Everybody up there. Now, second thing. Can you imagine, like, everyone of you, of your financial situation? Wow, your loved one. Wow. Honey. You gotta go off and make $400. But any of you sit there and tell me that you. Where are we spending all this money for that we have to get tax assessment and to squeeze the living life out of people? You want to come here. How many people you think I'm gonna tell? You better never come over here and go, I'm getting the hell out of it. I've been here 20 years. Thank you.
So, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Our attorney will respond to you after getting information from our county manager, county commissioner. At this time, county manager, have any remarks?
I don't have a whole lot of comments for the rest of the night. I just want to thank everyone for coming out and voicing your opinions. I just wanted to let the commissioners know that I did get in contact with Mr. Alan Thompson tonight, and we just have a few more things we're hashing out on the audit, and we're both hopeful that it will be done pretty shortly. We have a list that they gave us on last week, so we're just running through that list. And you never say never, but hopefully this is the last list, and we'll get him the information that he needs. And he said if he gets that, he should be able to get back to us pretty soon. So I'm going to keep in contact with him, make sure that gets done. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
I can't imagine. I want to say to you, I sympathize with you. Of the altar, when I was at this county manager, I had to call him every single day till he got the secretary to tell me he wouldn't accept me call. Also, the fact it just didn't make sense. We delayed and getting our audit report. Thank you for continuing to work on that. But I know what you're going. I really do. At this time, we're gonna have any comments from our commissioners. Any comments? With you get it.
Thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I did look into what can be done for the state adopting roads. And unfortunately, it has to be in the standard, their standards to start with for them to take it over. And I did look into it.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I'd like to thank you for your comments. One of my goals was to establish a citizen academy where citizens had the opportunity to come in and have their concerns, have people talk to us and answer certain questions and learn about the reassessment, property values and all that. And I do believe that we owe that to our citizens of Northampton County. So thank you very, very much for coming tonight. And your comments do not go on deaf ears. They do not. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to everyone for your, as always, thank you for your comments. I echo what my fellow commissioners just stated. And Mr. Joyner, I accept your invitation about this Friday to come see, as I've been there twice before. And it's Juneteenth. Celebrate. Clear.
Yes, Commissioner.
And thank everyone. I repeat the same thing that everyone else says, but thank you for coming. We know that there are a lot of challenges that we face as individuals and as collective citizens, and we are no different than you. We are citizens of this county.
Absolutely.
And we hear you. I know we have a lot of things to work through to get to where everyone is feeling comfortable, but I think that the fact that you're able to feel comfortable enough to come and share your concerns means that it's comfortable enough for you to feel like someone would listen. And I don't take that lightly. I don't think any of us do. I want to thank all those citizens who came out to watch the James Jones documentary. I know some of you may have seen it was on PBS before, and it played in our local library the following week after it was displayed as a part of the marker ceremony, historical marker ceremony at our school systems ground. So it is out there if you want to ever drive by to see that marker. And then if you Google James Jones, Chairman James Jones, that you can see that that video that really speaks to the heart of working together in Northampton and how that can happen and how that can bring about positive change. We do have, today is June, with a lot of counties and places celebrated Juneteenth today, but Northampton celebrates Liberation Day. It was a little after Juneteenth before the citizens of Northampton County got the word. And change started happening. So we will have our offices closed on the 7th of July. I believe that's the date this year, the date that it falls. So some citizens emailed and said, well, we closed today. No, we were in operation because for our county, our Liberation Day was July 7th. So that's the day that we honor the great change that our citizens collectively went through during that time to make it a better place for us to be able to work together. Again, I know you all hear one of our representatives say this together, but working together does work. And it does. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's getting there as fast as we need it to. And so we just have to work on putting some skates on so that we can move a little faster. But the skates is the communication. It's the communication followed by the action. So if you've ever come to me and I don't do something that I'm supposed to do as an individual citizen, then please come back to me and say, you didn't do what you told me you were going to do. Amen. As a board, that's different, but as an individual citizen, I promise to do everything that I can to work collectively to bring about change. So, and thank you all again for coming.
Thank you. Citizens of our county, thank you so much for coming, having your voice heard for this board. We want you to know we appreciate it. I've listened to all of you tonight. I do understand, and I think we do, but we really do understand some of the things that you said tonight, all the things you said tonight, because you said it from your heart. But we all want to do what we can to make Northampton County better. And we can never be any better than the citizens in the county. This board stands open for you to converse with and talk with about the things that you think that not right. We have no problem with that. We want you to know we appreciate that because we then know that there's more than one way of doing things, and maybe you have a better way. The gentleman just said to us tonight that about something that was on the paper that need to be changed. That's fine. And our attorney says, let me go and see what it is. That's fine. That's what we're all about, because we can do it better together than we can separate. But tonight I do have a big announcement that I would like to make. We have received official words and got the funds allotted to us that we can build workforce houses that we plan to build. We have that funds, $3 million given to us by our representative, Butterfield office. We applied for this 2.5 years ago. It's come through, and now we're planning to build the workforce houses for the county. I do want to make that announcement tonight. That Northampton County, in this rural Northampton County, we plan to build. The land is already there for us to build on. We received that land from the Board of Education right by the school. We plan to build those houses. You'll get more information. We just got that confirmation that we're ready, finance people are ready to draw down on those funds. We did do the declaration that we needed to do, like we did tonight for the sewer line. We had already done that and last year. So we already have that on record. So when those funds come down, we will be able, when we get ready to draw those funds, we can just do so. The plan, the architect is working on the plan for that. And when the architect worker get that plan done, it will be given to the entire county. All citizens can see it. But these are workforce houses. First priority would be those who work for the county or work for the state, work for the federal government. Right now, we have a problem in keeping and attaining employees. And our interest right now, if we bring someone in from out of Northampton County to work with us, first question they ask is, where am I going to live? So we're going to attempt to solve some of that. And we're planning, if you will, a county manager plan that sometime in July that we invite Don Davis, and we'll invite all of our representatives here, even Senator Tillis' office, who were instrumental in helping us getting this. You invite them all here. Let's plan a groundbreaking for housing, workforce houses for Northampton County. I want you to also know that Northampton County received more funding from the federal government than any other county around. Not only did we get that funding, but we also got funding, $5 million, which we have for the courthouse annex that you don't see going up yet. We are working, the architect is working on that. None of these funds coming from the county's coffers. These funds are coming because they were allotted to us by the U.S. government and by the state of North Carolina. We're excited about kinds of things we're going to be able to do. And right now, if we have enrolled for the legislative monies that we asked them for to come to Northampton County again, I've been promised from both sides of the aisle, Republican and from the Democrat, that we will receive some funding to come to Northampton County. These fundings that we've asked for is to help with the sewer water system, funds to help with the new jail we need to have, fund that we'll be asking for to help with the new water system that we plan to have in Jackson. That might not come directly to us, but it'll come indirectly to Jackson. We plan to make a difference in Northampton County. So this will be a great step for us. And in securing personnel working, especially in every department we got right now, we got vacancies. Every one of them, there is a vacancy. There is a vacancy. What bothers me most of all is our sheriff department. It really bothers me about that department because of the fact they seem to be now on where I can go to get the most money. And if you certify, you can go to any county, any city. And now there's a race to whether we're gonna be able to train and keep the right staff in the sheriff's department. That's why our budget is where it is. We just refuse to not have enough money if we need to do the kinds of things that we gotta do. I need you to note that, and when I say to you, we plan to do that. Also want to know, I see the mayor of Seaboard is here with us. Mayor Seaboard, the bids will be let this week. Am I right? Next week. Excuse me. The water for Seaboard for the Mount Zion Church Road. June 27th. That we will know who the contractor will be. On this project, we went to Seaboard first. We took this out. Whole project will be evaluated or be bidded on. But we went to Seaboard because Seaboard water is the worst water we have in the county right now. They're not able to drink, not even wash their hands. Some of the waters we got in Seaboard. And Marcusville. I'm sorry, I mean Seaboard. I'm in Marcusville. Okay, Marcusville, that's where we're going. There's Mount Zion Church Road, I believe that is. It's where we're bidding it out, and we're going to be able. Those monies were given to us again 2 years ago, around $5 million for our extension of our water. Everybody in the county, including myself, do not have county water. It's just not right. And we're going to make sure that our citizens, 210 more of our citizens, will be a part of our water system. And then after we do this, we'll do another one, because I will not be satisfied, and this board will not be satisfied. I know they won't, until all citizens have good water to drink. Good water. So we plan to do that, plan to make sure that our citizens. So we're going to invite you. You will know about it at the next meeting when the groundbreaking will be for the new houses. You have a picture of them and so forth, so that you'll be able to see it. There again, it's because of the work that we've been doing as county commissions to do whatever we can to improve Northampton County. Want to say something about 95 and getting off at 95 where they're doing the bridge with 46. What is it? 46. I want you to know that they're working now on doing the detours they need to do and putting a new bridge there. Once that new bridge is there, we've been promised some that we'll have some things coming at that crossroad that will make a difference too in Northampton County. We've been waiting for that. No one would commit themselves to it now. That is because it's not done. So we're just waiting for that to get done. To the citizens about our water and sewer, as all of you know, all of our sewer goes to Roanoke Rapids, western end of the county. All of our sewer goes to Roanoke Rapids. In the long term, we plan to do our own sewer system. Once we do this system that we have, and once we do the line, that we plan to do our own system, called all the sewer from Garrisburg all around, and the western end goes to Roanoke Rapids. So we plan to have our own, because now what we're doing, we're sending millions of dollars over there for them to take our sewer. And this was before our day. This is for our day. This was done back in the day. This way it was done. Now it's our day now. We're gonna try to do our best to improve, add on to make things better in the county. Thank you for listening to us. We appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm gonna ask now for a motion. Unless the board member has something she would like to say at this time. If not, I'll last ask for a moment. We will go into closed session for 2 items that I need to bring to you in closed session tonight. Can I have a motion?
Which are the? I make a motion that we enter into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 318, 11A6 personnel, 11A3 attorney-client privilege, and 11A4 EDC report.
Thank you. Could I have a
Second.
that could be moved proper second? We go to closed session. All in favor, known by you saying aye.
Faulkner.
Aye. I've had it. Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, I just